The fitness industry has sold men over 40 a lie. They told you more is better, that to build muscle, you need 5 or 6 workouts a week. But that's exactly why most men over 40 stay stuck looking the same month after month. Meanwhile, my clients in their 40s, 50s, and 60s are gaining muscle fast, training only twice per week, doing 2 sets per exercise. This is also the exact method that took my body from this to this. In this video, I'll show you the full 2-workout, 2-set routine, the exact exercises, sets, reps, and progression so you can build muscle fast without spending more than 2 hours a week in the gym. You're doing exactly what they told you to do, and it's the very thing holding you back. Every man over 40 who's serious about getting in shape eventually falls for the same trap. You decide you want to look better, so you go online for advice, and what do you see? Fitness influencers telling you to train 6 days a week. But here's the truth. Most of those fitness influencers are blasting steroids and they're in their 20s and their entire life revolves around training. That's why they can train that often and still grow. But you're not them. You're in your 40s, 50s, or maybe even 60s, and you have a family, a career, and real responsibilities. And you recover slower. It's just biology. These routines were built for enhanced 20-year-olds, not for natural men over 40. And that's why you've been spinning your wheels. You're not lazy, you're not broken, you're just following the wrong blueprint. When I started training almost a decade ago, I fell for the same lie. I trained 6 days a week because I thought more was better. And after a full year of doing that, I looked almost the same. And I remember thinking to myself, there's no way this much effort should equal this little progress. I was frustrated, tired, and on the edge of quitting. And then I stumbled onto something that completely changed how I see training. It was the pre-steroid era, the 1940s and 50s. Back then, men trained less and looked much better. They lifted heavy, focused on full body workouts 2 to 3 times a week, they did fewer exercises and sets, and they built powerful physiques. And the reason why is that they weren't enhanced. They had to prioritize recovery. And when I realized that, something clicked. I realized I was following routines built for steroid users with a natural body. So I switched to training just twice per week and my results exploded. Every single week, I was getting stronger and fuller, and I was starting to finally look like I lifted. And after sharing this approach online, I realized this is exactly what men over 40 have been missing. The secret to looking your best after 40 isn't more work, it's better recovery. So here's why this works so well and why almost no one is talking about it. These are the 4 levers that actually move the needle after 40, and the first one is recovery. So muscle isn't built in the gym, it's built when you rest. When you're constantly breaking your body down, you never give it time to rebuild. 2 workouts a week finally give your body the recovery it's been missing. Once you start recovering properly, that's when your size and strength will skyrocket. The second reason is intensity. Most guys train at 50% of what they are actually capable of. And the reason being is because they're never fully recovered. Doing fewer workouts means higher effort per session. When you're actually fresh going into your workouts, you can finally train hard, and that's what actually drives growth. The third reason is progression. So muscle growth comes from progressive overload, adding weight or reps over time. But you can't do that if you're always sore or tired. By training less often, you recover more and progress faster. That's why my clients hit personal bests every single week. The fourth reason is sustainability. So the best routine is the one that you can stick to for life. Most men fail because their plan doesn't fit their lifestyle. 2 full body workouts a week is flexible, simple, and easy to sustain. You can build muscle without sacrificing your work, your family, or your life. So now that you understand why this works, let's look at how it works. So it all starts with 2 full body workouts per week. You're gonna do 6 total exercises per session, and you're gonna do 2 working sets per exercise. That's it. Simple, efficient, and effective. The secret is intensity and recovery, not endless volume. Now, every great program starts with what I call the core 6. So these are the 6 fundamental movement patterns your body was built to perform. We have squats, hip hinges, vertical pushes, vertical pulls, horizontal pushes, and horizontal pulls. What you're gonna wanna do is pick one exercise for each movement pattern, and then those become your linchpin exercises, the ones that you're gonna wanna master and get as strong as possible at over time, because these are the movements that are really going to build your physique. So here are some examples of core 6 movements that you could use. And the reason why I'm giving you examples rather than telling you to do these 6 exercises is because not all exercises work for everyone. There's no one size fits all. all. I like to think of things in terms of movement patterns instead of exercises, because exercises are really just tools in your toolbox. There are multiple exercises that fit within each of these movement patterns that could work really well for you. And your goal is to just pick the one that works really well for you individually. So maybe your core 6 would be a leg press, a Romanian deadlift, a dumbbell overhead press, a chin up, a barbell bench press, and a dumbbell row. Then once you've picked your core 6, all you want to do is pick 3 isolation exercises per routine for smaller muscle groups like arms, shoulders, or abs. So essentially the way that this would look is that 3 of these core 6 movements are going to go in one routine, and then the other 3 are going to go in the other routine. And then with each routine, you're going to have 3 isolation exercises to finish each of them off. Listen, free content got you this far and no further. You're still stuck, still frustrated, still looking in the mirror, wondering when things will finally change. But here's the truth. Transformation doesn't come from more information. It comes from a plan built for your body, your life, and someone holding you accountable when motivation fails. That's what my clients get, and it's why they're finally seeing results after years of spinning their wheels. So if you're serious about finally transforming your body after 40, click the link below and book a free call with me. There's zero pressure, zero cost, and zero obligation. If I can help you, I'll show you how, and if not, you still leave the call with clarity. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So here's an example of what your routine might look like after you've picked your exercises. So your workout A might be barbell squats, chin-ups, dumbbell seated overhead press, tricep pushdowns, calf raises, and face pulls. And your workout B might be incline dumbbell bench press, Romanian deadlifts, barbell rows, barbell curls, lateral raises, and ab crunches. Notice that these are your core 6 and these are your isolation exercises. Now remember that for each and every one of these exercises, you're only going to be doing 2 working sets. So why only 2 sets? Well, where most guys go wrong is that in their training, they chase volume instead of intensity. More sets don't mean more gains. They just mean diluted effort. 2 truly hard sets that you push close to failure will always outperform 5 half-assed sets where you're just going through the motions. When it comes to training and building muscle, quality always beats quantity. Now, just as an example to illustrate this point, let's picture that you're going into a workout and for your first exercise, you're doing 5 sets. Well, whether you realize this or not, because you're doing 5 sets, you're not actually pushing any of these sets very hard, because subconsciously you're like, oh shit, I got 5 sets to get through. I better hold back, I better conserve energy, conserve intensity in order to make it through these 5 sets. So what happens is that you half-ass these sets and put maybe 50% effort into each of these sets. Now, if we flip the script and you do just 2 sets for that given exercise, it becomes a completely different mindset. It's no longer a mindset of conserving energy and intensity. It's a mindset of actually making it count, because you know deep down, oh shit, I have only 2 sets to get through. I better make these sets count so that I actually stimulate muscle growth. So you approach these 2 sets with a completely different mindset. And what happens is that you put 100% effort into each of these sets. And this is always more productive for stimulating muscle growth because you're actually pushing those sets hard and to failure. And that is fundamentally what drives growth. And not only is this better for stimulating muscle growth, but it's also much less fatiguing, because 5 sets is quite fatiguing. With 2 sets, you're going to accumulate less fatigue, which means that it's going to be easier for you to recover from. So now that you understand why you're doing just 2 sets, let's talk about how to actually conduct those 2 sets. So for compound exercises, which are the first 3 exercises of each workout routine, I recommend using the polarity training style. This is basically where you do 1 heavy set followed by 1 lighter back down set. So what I want you to do is that for each compound exercise, I want you to do your first set for 6 to 8 reps. Then for the second set, I want you to take 10% of the weight off the bar and then go for 8 to 10 reps. So it's a top set followed by a lighter back down set where you go for a couple more reps. And the reason why I really love this training style is because it has an amazing psychological effect, because you know you're only gonna have to do that first really heavy set once before you can go a little bit lighter. And the reason why that's important is because oftentimes if you're doing the same weight on both sets, you tend to hold back a bit on that first set because you know deep down that you're gonna have to repeat that same weight again. So the first set is done with half-assed effort. But when you know that you're only doing this heavy set once, you're gonna put maximum intensity and maximum focus into that set. And the reason why that's important is because the first set is the most important set for stimulating muscle growth because it's when you're fresh. Now for isolation exercises, which are the final 3 exercises of each routine, I recommend just using straight sets. Straight sets are where you just use the same weight across every single set. So for all the isolation exercises, I want you to do 2 sets of 10 to 15 reps. Now it's really, really important that for every single set that you do in this routine, you push it to 0 reps in reserve. 0 reps in reserve just means squeezing out every single rep that you can do using good form on every set. There's no point in doing just 2 sets for an exercise and following this sort of low volume training style if you just go through the motions. The whole reason why we do just 2 sets per exercise is to facilitate harder training, is to allow us to push each set harder. Because if you do a lot of sets, your effort and focus become diluted. By doing fewer sets, you can put a lot more effort into those sets, and that stimulates more muscle growth and accumulates less fatigue, like we talked about. But if you don't push your sets to 0 reps in reserve and you leave like 3 to 5 reps in the tank like most men do, this is not going to work. Now, as far as rest time between sets, for compound exercises, rest 3 minutes between sets. And for isolation exercises, rest 1 to 2 minutes between sets. So I'll quickly show you how to warm up for each exercise. So you want to keep your warm-ups very brief and very simple. The goal is just to do the minimum amount that you need to be physically and psychologically prepared to get into your heavy working sets. So what I'd recommend is to do just 2 warm-up sets for each of the compound exercises. So the first 3 exercises of each routine. You do not need to warm up for the final 3 isolation exercises of each routine because by then you will already be warm. So I would recommend just doing a couple specific warm-ups, which is where you just do a couple light sets of the exercise that you're getting into. So what I'd recommend is that for the first warm-up set, you're gonna do 50% of the first working set weight for 6 reps. And then you're gonna do 70% of the first working set weight for 3 reps. And then when this is done, you're literally just gonna rest 3 minutes and then begin your working sets. And between these 2 warm-up sets, you don't need to rest. The next thing that's absolutely crucial for you to understand to make this routine work is how to progress over time. This is where all the magic happens. Without a proper strength progression system, none of the stuff that we've covered so far is going to make a difference whatsoever. This is what most men over 40 lack in their training. So the strength progression system that I recommend you use is called the double progression method. So I want you to recall the set rep structure that we just talked about, because this is really important for understanding how the double progression method works. So as you might have noticed, with each of the sets that you're doing in the routines, whether it's 6 to 8 or 8 to 10 or 10 to 15 for the isolation exercises, there's always a range. It's never just one rep target that you're aiming for. And the reason that this rep range exists is to guide the double progression method over time. So the way that the double progression method works is that you're literally just going to always be working in this rep range. And then when you hit the top end of the rep range, you add some weight. So let's give an example here. Let's say that after this video, you're going to go into your first workout and you're going to be doing incline dumbbell bench press. On your first set, you're going to use 50-pound dumbbells and you're going to go for 6 reps. Well, on week 2, you're going to strive to hit 7 reps. On week 3, you're going to try to hit 8 reps. Now, once you've hit 8 reps, you've hit the top end of the rep range because the rep range is 6 to 8, right? So on week 4, you're then going to go up to 55-pound dumbbells and then try to get 6 reps. So that's how it works. You're working in the rep range with a given weight, and then once you hit the top end of the rep range, you add 5 pounds, and then you drop to the bottom of the rep range and then work your way up again over time. So on week 5, you'd still be with 55-pound dumbbells, but then you try to get 7 reps. So you're literally just repeating this process over and over again. It's the simplest and most effective way to gain muscle after 40. If you enjoyed this video, then you're gonna love this video right here where I go even deeper into how this 2 workout, 2 set method is transforming the bodies of hundreds of men over 40.